All right, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to the Wiley Drake Show. We're live on the air with you right now. If you would like to call and be on the line with us as well, all you have to do is pick up your phone and call the number that I'm going to give you. The number that I'm going to give you is our Congressional Prayer Conference telephone line. The phone number is 712-432-1690. 712-432-1690. Call us on that number and it will ask you for your access code. And when you do that, you'll put in your access code. Let me give you that access code. That access code is 399-430#. And that's 399-430#. And you'd be more than happy to call in on that line. 712-432-1690. Access code 399-430#, and you can join us. That is our line that we refer to as the CCC, Congressional Communications Channel. And we would love to communicate with you. We've got some things that we want to communicate, not only with you, but with our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. We believe the Bible says we as Christians have the capability and the privilege and the responsibility to communicate with God. God communicated with his disciples. He communicated with Adam and Eve. And all down through history, God has communicated with man. One of the greatest communication verses that we talk about is that one that we use, and we like to use, of course, and that is 2 Chronicles 7:14. 2 Chronicles 7:14 says, "If my people, who are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then," he says, "I will hear from heaven, forgive their sin, and heal their land." Now, I want to remind you that today has been a very special day. And I want to share with you a press release that we put out earlier. And we'll tell you all about that. This press release at the top says, "Wiley for President." And then it says, "I need your prayers." And I do. Well, today at 9 a.m. this morning, Orly Tates was on the air with me. She is the original birther attorney. Do we have anyone on the line? All right. Good afternoon and welcome to the Wiley Drake Show. You're live on the air with us, not visually, but audio-wise. You're live on the air. Go ahead, please identify yourself, if you would so desire, and let us know where you're calling from.
Master Drake, this is Bill with Eugene and Boldy, and we thought we'd come back tonight and see if there's any other additional questions that anybody may have had.
Well, we certainly do appreciate you coming back on, and I did invite you, and I'm glad you came. I know you guys are very, very busy. We had Dr. Orly Tates on with us this morning on our 9 o'clock show, and she is raring to go. We are, she has been fighting the fight that you guys talk about. And so on the 20th day of October, there is a case going to court. Oral arguments will be discussed. And it has to do with the particular case. Orly Tates was my attorney on the Drake v. Obama case, and we had that same problem that you guys talk about, and that is the idiosyncrasies is a nice way to put it, but it is actually the viciousness between what the court records and what it says it records. And so many times the records are altered and so forth. And so Ladies and gentlemen, I have on with me Bill and Goldie and Eugene, and they're here to help us learn. And one of the teaching techniques they're using is a book that's called The Death of the Justice System. And you can go find that at crownoakpress.com. That's CROWNOAKPRESS.com. You can get that book, and we'll give you an opportunity to share about it when you get your book and you have your copy in front of you. But in the meantime, we're going to sort of struggle through with what we've got at this point, and that is these folks, Bill, Goldie, and Eugene. Share with us, share with our listening audience, if some of the folks that weren't on before, what is this book about?
Well, this is Bill. Eugene had done a case in 1984 regarding what was called a shackman, which was an illegal firing. And he found out that during this case, that the transcripts were prepared by a court stenographer that were altered. And then he found out that there were audio tapes that accompanied the transcripts. And he made an attempt to obtain the audio tapes for his case through Brian Barnett Duff. And Brian Barnett Duff said, no, we're not going to give them to you. And the specific quote that's on the book itself is, I'll read you the quote that Brian Barnett Duff made. That if you could get them, he's speaking to Eugene about this, if you could get them, then everybody in the world could get them, and then he would be playing them every night on Channel 7, Channel 5, Channel 2, Channel 9, Channel 6, and Channel 32, whenever they wanted them. So, and Brian Barnett Duff denied the request for audio tapes for Gene, even though his attorney had got them just down the hallway in the Seventh Circuit Court in another court.
Now, if I understand what you're saying, let's say I'm in the courtroom, okay? There is a professional stenographer using one of those fancy typewriters, electronic more so now and so forth, and she's typing every word. In fact, quite often in a case in the courtroom, you will see the stenographer stop the person that was talking and ask them to repeat what they said. And so she's typing up every word that they say. And that ends up being in what is referred to as a transcript. Is that right?
That is correct. What she's doing is typing phonetically what you say. So when a word says like wave and wave, she has to look at the context of how that word is to know the spelling of the word.
Yeah.
W-A-T or W-A-I-T-E.
Okay.
It sounds the same. She has to interpret by the context how to spell it.
Okay, so now we go to court. We have our day in court, and we either are convicted or whatever we accomplish or try to accomplish, and then we want to appeal, and that's what Dr. Orley Tate is going to be doing, is appealing a case. But you want to appeal. Now we've got to get the evidence. Now, as I understand it from what you fellas and lady have said, there are two sources. One is that transcript that stenographer produced. But there is a more accurate version, and tell us about that.
Well, she types on what is called a stenotype machine. And within that, the new electronic stenotype machines have a audio file embedded in the process.
Yes.
What she gets is a phonetically sounding audio wave file within her machine. Now, the courtroom also takes the machine, or takes the conversation in the courtroom. And that is called an audio tape. Now, there's typically a third copy, which is called the master audio tape, that goes to a locked storage area. That does not get open unless you have reason to have it open. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's evolved, Pastor. But the point is, don't let me one mistake is that he was saying to my attorney, Arnett, when I first got Arnett was sick. He was on the pump for, what do you call it, for to get the...
Dialysis.
Yeah, no. But the point is I called this organization called Hall and I tried to get a fair lawyer in Illinois, and they gave me 2 names out of 45,000. And then when they called me back an hour later, I only had one Arnett, and I suddenly luckily got him. And he was a pretty good guy, pretty good old guy, and he was going with it. He was at the end of the line, so he didn't figure, he's going to take a shot at this with me. He was going to go at it. We were going to the newspapers at that time and everything. But the point is, the court reporter does not forge your tapes. Because you stop and think about it, she hands it to the other side. The court reporter doesn't know what everybody wants, so she's got to give them the tapes, let's say the city or a prosecuting attorney, and then they match it up to a case that they want, and match your stuff up in there, and then give it back to her, and she sells you the forged tapes. But there are tapes, and see, the ones that are in her court reporting thing, the tapes, or whatever she got, the ones down, whatever she got, there's 2 of them. If you don't get it right away, they're going to doctor that up too. But what they can't doctor is the master tape that's sealed and kept in a vault. And that's handled by 2 or just 3 major people. And the only person that can go in there and get those tapes is the U.S. attorney. You can't do it unless you're a U.S. attorney. And no one is allowed to take those out. They have to stay forever in there. So what I mean, that's the vault in all these courts. And the point is that in order to get to it, Judge Posner made it a little harder when he says, well, you get it in the book. It says, well, the only real record in the Smith case, and that's in 1999, and he goes, well, the only way you can get it is if you can show something wrong and your transfer's good, and you have a reason to go to that. Well, see, I got those forged transfers so I can go to that and get to that, but it's no problem when we go to the Supreme Court. But the point is, they match a case with your case that they won. It comes so close that you're thrown out immediately. And usually they got to cheat you before you go to the appellate court, because in the appellate court and Supreme Court, you only have tape recorders. That's to protect the judges. See, because in this way they can say they just heard this and heard that, and they show you the tapes that they got, okay? Mm-hmm. And the point is that's when you get your oral arguments in that. And you look at the stuff. But what they do is they forge your stuff there. Your case will be overturned by them because they're not seeing the right stuff. Your lawyer goes along with it usually. Well, most of the time. And then basically you don't realize this is going on because they start this out in your depositions. Like you'll hear them say sometimes in a case, well, if I told you that you said you're 10 o'clock, you were over here, and then another time now you're saying you're here at 10 o'clock, you're at a different place, where you're lying then or where you're lying now. Well, you weren't lying either time. One has changed. See, that makes you look bad in front of a jury. See, that makes you look bad in front of anything. Your lawyer goes along with that. And basically this is how it is mostly. Your stuff is altered all the time. And the court reporter, sometimes if you watch, like, after you're talking about seeing them play with the keys and doing this, I've seen them the court reporters had it unplugged because they knew they were going to go off the tapes. I've seen the tapes. I grew up in this system, so I knew what they were doing, so I was prepared for this. But most normally, it would be if they caught any fraud, like I did, would have reported it to their lawyer, went to the U.S. attorney, but that ain't going to help you because they're all in it. I mean, where are you going to go? You have to be patient, keep that, and wait to bring it out to the public and get it out in a book or get it out in something where you can show all the evidence that they did it. Because you got to really be into this. You got to know what you're doing. You got to keep your cool. You got to be very calm because you're being cheated totally. If you sit there and don't care and you watch all the fraud, you pick it up and you hold it, then you're going to see them talking to one another and saying things like, well, if I don't do this, the court's going to change my decision. If I don't, write the decision right in court right now, if it comes by mail, it's going to be changed. Because we've got such good stuff in here and shows what a judge does is saying, I don't know what there's read up in there because that's not what I said. See, so basically when you get the book, you got to put this together. Then when you're reading the book, we'll send you the transcripts that have been forged because I got the original forged, the first set of forged ones. I got those. Anybody, even in the 7th grade, could tell you they're forged. But how I got those was that they were forged at the time I did my own case. When I did such a good job in one, they forced me to get an attorney to handle the damages. So when he handled the damages, they had to show me the transcripts to go before the judge and say, I'm taking an attorney that's getting off the case myself. They weren't true with forging. So you only forged day 3 and day 4 real good, but that was still bad when the seizure can tell. And day 1 and 2 they kept. So when I paid the $600 for the transcript, I was kind of smart. I realized, hey, this is only day 3 and 4. Where's day 1 and 2? So we called back to Lois LaCourse. That was her name. I mentioned here, Lois LaCourse. So I'm telling you straight out.
Yeah.
To do anything like, come and tell me. But here's the point now, Doc. So in other words, what happens here now is they don't know where it's at. So she says, well, I ain't got him. Well, if you ain't got him, then they're supposed to leave the courthouse. Where are they? She says, well, Charlie and Mary got him. That's the state attorneys for the city. So they're going to come over later when I want my lawyer, John Governor, I was in his office, and that was his name, Governor, because he knew what they were doing. We all knew they were cheating, because I knew that from the beginning, because they knew they were cheating with the depositions, because they start off with that. So we waited till they came with it, and it wasn't fully done. It was done because Bill will tell you he looked at it. He's an expert in this stuff. With 4 different typewriters, it even had, they too had it done like the states play, where you're stamped another number on there so you don't have to change it so you don't get lost. But they had to give it to me because I had to look at them in order to tell the judge that I was getting off the case. So they didn't come till about 10 o'clock at night when all the stores were closed downtown. So they figured I'd go to bed to get up early in the morning for that. But me and my uncle went to an all-night gas station and had them, change, not duplicate. So I got copies of it. So what I did is didn't tell my lawyer and didn't let to anybody. I went down the next day and got them certified. So I got the forged copy certified, so that meant I'm keeping the copy. They have to go along with the forged copy in my case. They can't change it now. So here's the point now. I'm holding the forged copy, so the only thing they can prove if I'm a liar or not, or they're telling the truth, is you got to bring out the tapes. And Duff wouldn't give up the tapes. See, he couldn't do it. And as a matter of fact, I just wanted to make it a little shorter. My attorney on it says, come over here and stay by the court report and listen to what she says. So the court's sitting there. And he says, I want to get a copy of the tape. He said, I can't give them to you. He says, you have to. Judge Layton gave them to me. So I'm sitting listening, and just on the side. And she said, no, I'd rather do 18 months in jail than give you these tapes because it'll blow everything wide open. See, that's the key. So I'm not the first one they're forging. So we know now what's going on. We know what to look for. We know to go deep into the transcripts, find out what pages are real bad, what's what. Bill did my whole transcript with a red pen, finding out what's wrong with it. And Bill can answer the story now, right, Bill?
Yes, I did. Gene's transcripts are 520 pages. Day 1, day 2, day 3, and day 4. John Lucille did testimony on day 2, and his complete testimony is missing from the transcripts.
My goodness.
I used, I read a transcript with a straight edge and a red pen, and I used about 3 thick red pens in 500 pages, 520 pages, and underlining it and making comments. So my handwritten copy looks like a stuffed pig.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, what we're talking about here is, I would, first of all, let me give you the website that you can go to, because these folks do a great job in explaining, but you need the book. You need to have the book. It's just like a preacher, you preach, and you may do a decent job, but then you need the book. You need the Bible. And this is the book. And the title of the book is Death of the Justice System. And the comment here, of course, is that the fatal tragedy of the court transcripts. And that's what Bill and Eugene are talking about. There's 386 pages in this book. And it's written by a lady by the name of Linda, common spelling of Linda. Her last name is Achor. That's A as in Adam, C-H-O-R. And the book, the picture of the book, you'll see it when you go to the web page, has a tape, an old-fashioned reel-to-reel tape player on it. That's the book you need. There was another one out that was before it, but this is the most current one. It's got the picture of the reel-to-reel tape on it, and that's the one you want to get. And if you want to get the book, you go to Crown Oak, C-R-O-W-N, as in a king, and it's crown, and then Crown Oak, O-A-K, Press, P-R-E-S-S, crownoakpress.com. And if you go to that webpage, you'll see exactly what I'm seeing right now, the picture of the book with the reel-to-reel tapes, the fact that it has 386 pages, and under the category, under law, it says civil rights. And under law, it has court records. and under law, it has evidence. We've been pushing for years, for example, the evidence that's on the web page with Sheriff Arpaio and his deputies and their evidence, and that is, where's Obama's birth certificate? And this is a paperback book, so you can read it and handle it easy, and I would encourage you to get a copy of that book and go to crownoakpress.com. And if you get the book, I would encourage you to call me and say, Wiley, I read the book and I want to talk about it. And we'll have you come on and talk about what you read, what you found in the book. But now please be honest with me. One of the first questions I'm going to ask you, if you call me up and say, I'd like to talk about the book, my first question to you is going to be, have you read the book? And if you say, well, no, but I think I can talk about it, or talk for it or against it, I'm not interested in that, folks. We're interested, this program is based on the scripture of doing justice, loving mercy, and walking with God. And for you to think you know what's in the book by the title, or for you to think you know something in the book and you want to talk about it, is a waste of our time, and we're not going to do that. However, no matter what you want to say about it, good, bad, or indifferent, we will not cut you off. We will not be biased. We will allow you to say whatever you want to say. But you must at least assure me that you've read the book. And I think that's only common decency in order to comment on a book. And so we would love to have you give a book report. Now, fellas, they can go to the website there to get that book, and it just was released, right?
It was just released on effectively Monday.
Okay.
We've had some problems with the internet coming up and down, but we've worked those out today, and it should be, the servers should be more stable today than they were yesterday.
All right, very good. And like I said this morning, these folks were on with me yesterday, and we talked about it. We spent quite a bit of time discussing the book, even though we didn't have the copy of it, and we wanted Dr. Orly Taitz. Dr. Orly Taitz is the attorney, the Russian lady that speaks 5 languages, very educated, a very good attorney, and a very good dentist too, by the way. But at any rate, I want to share with you from this morning what she said, and guys, I'll share it and you can get your comments about what she said. This was in her press release. She says, on October the 20th, 2015, Circuit Court of Appeals will hold a hearing in Grinols versus Electoral College. The U.S. Congress, Obama, Biden, Governor of California, Secretary of State, etc., and a lot of other people. Presidential candidate who gained 40% of the vote and came second after Obama in West Virginia presidential primary in 2012. The courts held this case until now. This is a strong case, as the district court, England, already found that Judd had standing to proceed with the case and discovery. However, this lower court judge claimed that that's not the issue, meaning that no court has jurisdiction to rule whether the presidential candidate is eligible or not. The decision, she said, is outrageous, unconscionable, as during the same district and the Ninth Circuit found that they have jurisdiction to rule on the matter and confirm the decision of the Secretary of State of California. If the 3-judge panel, and I'll ask you to comment on this in just a moment, but Orly Taitz says if the 3 judges on the panel of the Ninth Circuit have 1 grain of decency and moral values, they will find that this is a justifiable question and should allow Attorney Taitz to go back to the district court, proceed with discovery, and proceed in the case. Now, fellas, your comments on that, and then we'll take some other callers in just a moment.
Well,
Basically, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Tony.
Well, how I see it is it's the patronage. They're all for one and one for all. They can pretty much say or write anything they want, and people just go along with it.
Yeah.
That's why you police. Because they know they don't have to abide by any law in any land. They could just mix it up as they go along.
Yeah.
They don't have to abide by the Constitution or local laws, policies, procedures, anything. They could sit up there and talk baby talk and laugh about it because they know how fake the system is. And until you guys realize that the system is set up to fail that way on purpose,
Yeah.
it's predetermined that you're never going to win anything unless you can prove the fraud. It's just going to go on and on and on because that's the game. They know to just pass it here, pass it there, pass it here, pass it there.
Well, and yes,
It's been on for a million years because they can.
well, yesterday as we talked about the book, and the book is entitled Death of the Justice System. When we talked about the book, I received an email from Orly Tates, and after I sent her one, I sent her an email and said, "Dear Orly," Orly was my attorney for several years in the...
You know who she is. I know who she is.
Yeah, she was the attorney on the Drake v. Obama case. Now, at that point, I said, what can we do? You talked about patriots. You talked about men and women who are patriotic and want justice.
No, patronages.
I'm sorry?
I think patronages. Let Eugene explain that one. He's got that one.
Well,
Eugene?
patron is a form of system of, is actually slavery, but to a higher degree. The point is that you get a city job because you both work for somebody there.
Yeah.
So the point is you got to go on with the system that they want. So most of these judges and everybody else, they can say they're elected for life and all that, but that's baloney. They're every guys that came into the system themselves, and they're going to rule with the system the way it is. That's basically it. Now, in her situation, it's still reminded in the Supreme Court. Now, mine is still up there, but they denied it, but they don't know who denied it. They don't know anything about it, because here's what we did. Me and my boss, John Lucille, who was fired, he went in there first and asked for the tape. Now, the Supreme Court ruled that they don't have to hear it because you can buy your tape. Anybody can buy anybody's tape in this country. It's for money. It's easily done. But he didn't rule. And I come in after him and said, well, the United States judge won't give me it, and the U.S. attorneys won't help me. So in other words, even if I go to the U.S. attorneys with a show in a book that I did, they're not going to give it to you because they're all part of the system.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is put all this evidence together and take it to the public and see how they're being cheated. Now, here's the point. What's good about the book is everything we say here, we prove it with their evidence, not our evidence. They're the ones that gave us this stuff. They gave us the forged transcript. They gave us the stick'em. Shirley Young and the rest of them, Teresa Anfantozzi. See, you can't go in with a real good lawyer because he knows the system. You got to get yourself a kid or somebody you can handle. Because if you can handle him, you can run this case then. And you run it through him. So basically, it's his first case, second case of what you're doing. You're in there and he's going to get you your stuff, and he don't know what to do with it because he doesn't know how to cheat yet. He's not been brought all the way into the system. So when he got, like, the stickums that were hit to him, the lawyer called the court reporter, Teresa Anfantozzi, thought she was giving it to one of the boys, the lawyer. He was afraid. He didn't know what to do with it. So we took him down there because he didn't have a car, so we were waiting around him to pick up with anything we can get. We were like scavengers waiting for information because we knew what we're looking for, me and John. So in other words, she throws it to him and she gives him that forged transcript and some other documents that we gave him. So she signs in there and she says, look, you can call us at this and this number. Shirley Young is going to try to change the document, but you know how hard it is to do. And then he also put in there that the first transcript was a forged one. The second one they're putting in is good, but it's 4 years after the trial. Because I'm coming back in for the rest of my damages now, and they realized that there's no such thing as the shack. It was all make-believe. That was with the patronage deal was in Chicago. See, Nixon was in the White House at the time when this guy came in. This is before, my time and that. And when this guy came in, Shackman, and he wanted to run for office in Hyde Park in Chicago, but nobody would vote for him because they lose their job. They couldn't do this. They would get signs up, or their property would be condemned. Anything would happen to you. So what he done is he went and used the First Amendment and went to court, and he tried to say, hey, that they're doing this to me and I can't run under the First Amendment because they're taking my rights away from me. So basically he got thrown out of the record court in Chicago, and he got thrown out of the appellate court. But he was lucky to get in there in 1968, 69. Nixon's sitting there, and Nixon hates Daley because they stole the election from him, and gave it to Kennedy. And then that way they got some of their boys in from Chicago, like Ross Binkowski, and them in the House of Ways and Means Committee, and then you could throw things around, because that's where you need to go. You don't need the president. You just need the main jobs in Washington. So basically he goes in there, and Daley's afraid because he knows Nixon hates him. Nixon controls the Supreme Court. What if he ends patronage? And Daley's true. He can't have all these people working the streets, knocking on doors and doing this because he can't give them jobs. So what happens? He signs the Shackman Decree. But here's the point. Even though they signed the Shackman Decree, Shackman don't know nothing about it. He doesn't even do Shackman. We got a letter in the book saying that he's talking to me, my boss, John Lucille, and we're going for him to do the case. I don't do Shackman. He says, no, that's like Goodyear saying, I don't make tires. So what's going on here? And then when we talk with some of the lawyers and you're friendly with them, they start saying, yeah, Shackman don't even know Shackman, Yeah. And that's the key here. He doesn't know it. So really what the Shackman was a fake deal. Like, in other words, let's put it hypothetically, you do, Pastor. Yeah. In other words, I said, well, hey, Pastor Tracy, you shot Abraham Lincoln, so I'm firing you. Well, I'm going to tell you what, if you don't have politics and that's just murder, you're out the door in summary judgment. Yeah. So everybody was losing. This would have been 90,000 cases right out there, 20, 30,000. I get there, but I use the smarts and I gave money to somebody, so that's political. So when I get in there and then I prove I didn't do these things because I already knew they set people up and how they set people up because I grew up in this system. So basically, when they were blaming me for doing this and doing that, I had doctor's notes that I wasn't even there that day. Here's what we're going to do, too. Once we get the book out, and the book is ready, people understand it, someone put out the trial of a forged transcript, and you're going to see a forged federal transcript in the Northern District 7th Circuit with Brian Barisov and everybody lying and fucking crazy. When you read this, you can ask still how bad this one is. This is unreal.
Yeah.
We were waiting for that. We knew what they did. People don't know out there. They don't expect this. They think everything's wonderful. John Wayne and all this, and America's great and everything. Nobody's going to cheat.
Well, I think, brother, what's happening, I think people are beginning to wake up. Men and women like you folks that are uncovering these tragic changed and altered and fixed transcripts to make them come out the way they want it to come out rather than what is legal. And I think people are getting tired of that. And that's exactly why I'm glad that you folks have written the book. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening on the air, I want you to do 2 or 3 things. Number one, I want you to go to crownoakpress.com, crownoakpress.com, and get the book. And then I want you to read the book and share the book. And then I also want you to put on your calendar, October the 20th. That's on a Tuesday in San Francisco, California. I'll be there. I'll have some of our people there. We'll be there to be in the courtroom to hold them accountable. And so we would encourage you to be boots on the ground. That's at 95 7th Street. 95 7th Street, San Francisco, California. I'm sorry?
Okay. I'll post that. I will post that on the media. I will post that for everyone.
All right, and here's what we're going to do. On the 20th at 9 a.m., some of us will be boots on the ground in the courtroom observing oral arguments with Dr. Orly Tates and others. Now, that's those that are boots on the ground. Now, not everybody can drop what they're doing and go to San Francisco. We understand that. But we will be doing live broadcasts from there. We'll have this phone line open from there. Now, they will not allow us in the courtroom to do it, but we'll be there before we go in and when we come out, and you'll be able to ask questions and to be able to make comments and so forth. So this prayer line that you call in on will be open on that day. And again, the date is October the 20th. That's a Tuesday at 9 a.m., Courtroom 2. Courtroom 2. James R. Browning is the name of the case and so forth, but it's at 9595 7th Street, San Francisco, California. You can view the oral arguments. It'll be open to the public, and we encourage you to come and be a part of it. Now, get the book. We have to clean this system up. And ladies and gentlemen, that's what Bill and Goldie and Eugene have been doing. And the lady who wrote the book is Linda Achor, Achor, and she's the author of the book. And get the book, and then we'll allow you and invite you on here. Now, one of the things that yeah, go ahead.
Esther, can I say something? You really, well, we can tell you right now how to beat them. See, because when you're actually looking into this and you know what's going on, what you do is you're looking into the evidence. You must find a way to solve these problems. You can't just go and show the evidence and have the police do it, because they're not going to do it. They're with them.
Yeah.
You can't have the U.S. attorneys do it. They're with them. And by the way, Linda Achor just passed away. She knew she wasn't going to make it, but she knew we were going to get her and do this. But this is how you do it. We've got that case in the Supreme Court now. Now, the point is in public interest. If public wants it to know about the case, they don't have to worry about spending dimes, spending dollars, spending anything. But once they rule on those tapes, the U.S. attorneys must give you tapes in every one of your cases. You can go all the way back because there's no statute of limitations on fraud. So basically, by having a case up there, and we'll show you the writ of certiorari, it's in the book, that's open. It could be a redo now. And even Dr. Taylor said the one you were talking about that's doing it, the Russian doctor, can take us in and go in there and expose it for everybody in this country as long as there's public interest in this. They must rehear the case. And that means they must give you your tapes then. You have nothing to worry about. This means when you go to your lawyer's office and you ask him for a tape and he don't want to give you a tape, to want to do it, you drop him or you take him up and let him be disbarred.
Yeah.
The point is you case yourself now. Because if they're not giving you due process, that's already a First Amendment case. You're going to the Supreme Court anyway.
Yeah.
And the point is you can't trust with attorneys. So basically think about this. In public interest, with her going there, we could open this and force them to give everybody their audio tape, and that'll go back 20, 30 years. There's no statute of limitation. You're going to overturn your own cases from then. And I'll guarantee you there's a lot of people that read the book, and when you see it, they're going to see their own cases in here and see that happens then. Except we were ready for them. We were waiting for it. You weren't. And your cases are so doctored up now, you're never going to know until you get the tape. And they never get rid of the tapes because they're kept in a vault and they're kept sealed. So when you read it, you can hear some Judge Posner says, a lot of other judges, and we name all the names. There's nobody hiding any names here. They're not going to come and angle it. Call any lawyer you want. Let them come and debate us. We'll debate them anytime, anywhere.
Yeah.
We'll debate anyway from the Supreme Court. And you know we're right.
Well, you're absolutely right, and that's...
Yes, Steve,
Go ahead.
what Eugene's trying to say is the system's fixed. It's rigged. And expected. His book shows how the system is rigged. That's why it's so important. That's why it's so important that every person in America has their audio tapes to show the system is rigged on purpose. They know what they're doing ahead of time. It's a game. They played it for so long. They're really good at it now, and you don't realize it. We go in there thinking justice.
Yeah.
No. When you go in there, it's their game.
Well, you're
They
absolutely...
know what they're going to say. They know what they're going to do, how they're going to play it. They know they're going to cause chaos that most normal people cannot keep up with.
Yeah.
They're going to change their records. They're going to do whatever they want and everything they want. So
Well-
you just never get anywhere.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've been...
To this court. They'll send you to that court.
Yeah.
They'll make up any story they want to make up.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking about this over the years.
Every attorney,
We've talked about this.
every
time and time again. And we keep saying that, as Goldie has said, the courts are rigged, folks, and they rig them to their favor, not yours, obviously. And the courts are rigged, and we've got to change that. And one way to do it is to get this book and do what these folks are telling us to do. The other thing is to be boots on the ground at this hearing on October the 20th. And call me, or if you want to know more information. And but folks, we have long since, I've been preaching for years that the court systems are stinky rotten and that they're rigged in favor of the system. We see that all the time. Here in our church, for example, we have a homeless shelter, and we take in families that are homeless, and we help them, and many of them have children, and they've had the children taken away. Now, in some cases, that is legitimate. That is, the children needed to be protected. But after they've been protected, after the family, the husband, the wife, or whatever, after they get their act together, we've wondered over and over and over again, why is it that they don't want to give these children back to the parents? And the reason is, as long as they have the children, they get money. And so the system is rigged. They rig it before you get in there, and we need to undo this rigging of the system. And that's what this book is all about, and that's what Orly Tates is all about, and what the Wiley Drake Show is all about. And as I said, after talking with her and getting invited, I invited her to come on the program. And I said on my press release today, the original birther attorney, Orly Tates, invited me to appear in San Francisco, and I'm going. And I give all of you an invitation to go with us. Now, my comment also in reference to that is, why vote for either party when you can vote for a pastor? And as of the result of this book coming out and the result of other things, I decided this morning at 4 o'clock in the morning, God spoke to me, and I decided that I'm going to run for president again of the United States. And so I'm saying, why do you vote for either party? They're both rigged, they're both rotten, and I'm not rigged, I'm not rotten, I'm a pastor. So why vote for either party when you can vote for a pastor? My paperwork is on its way to D.C. as we speak, and I will be able to be a write-in candidate. I've already had several emails today saying that they will write me in when the election comes up. So we want you to get the book. Go to crownoakpress.com, crownoakpress.com, and get the book. And the title of the book is Death of the Justice System. And the author is Linda Achor, A-C-H-O-R. Get that book and then come on the program and talk about it. Let's help these fellas and these ladies unrig our system and get it back to what it was originally set up to be. And that's why we need some godly men in office, not only the president, but others. And so we're going to be working on that as well. Now, in light of that, Blossom, are you there? Blossom, are you on the line with us? Hello, hello. Well, I guess she went off. Well, I tell you what I did this morning. I got in touch with a friend of mine, Blossom Brackman, and I asked her to become my campaign manager for the presidential election, and she's agreed to do so. And so she's going to be working with me on that. Now, we only have about 15 minutes left. Bill, Goldie, or Eugene, is there anything else you'd like to share at this time?
Well, basically, you're going to have to stand up for justice sometimes. Both parties are rigged. It doesn't matter which one's in there. You don't even know who's voting for who. If you're going to start voting now, you better vote out in the open. Have your vote counted normally, because when you go into a booth, They can change your vote any way they want it. Let's be serious here. They're not hiding you from the public. They're hiding who's going to take your vote.
That's right.
Let's be honest. We've been in this. You know things are wrong. So there's nothing wrong with the Castor running because at least he's an honest man. Who are you going to get with these other people? I mean, let's be serious. Has anything ever changed? Every election speech you hear is the same thing. We're going to change this. We're going to do that. And it's all the same game. But I'll tell you what. When you read the book, we'll talk about everything here, and I can guarantee you no one's going to stand up and deny it when you see the evidence. The evidence is there. They made mistakes. They made us get this. We were ready for that. People are not ready for this. They don't know how to work on this. They can't control their anger. They can't wait for 10, 15 years and get all the evidence they got. They're going to run to their U.S. attorney. They're going to lose their evidence. It's going to be doctored up, and they're out the door. We can prove this, and we'll give you the transcript right after this. Faster. You can put it on your website. We put it on websites all over the country. You can see a Forbes federal trial. Now, how is that going to look that you're in the 7th Circuit, the Northern District, and you got a Forbes trial there? And any fool can see this. And then we're going to show you stickums given from the woman. We got the originals that she wrote. They're originals because she wrote them. That didn't come out of a court. The only thing original in court is the original master tape. That's it. If you don't get your tape immediately to the court reporter and stand there, they're going to doctor that paper.
Yeah.
But they can't do the original, the master. That's why they had to steal it. And we'll show who took it, who didn't take it. And anybody can come here and debate us. Come on. After you read the book, I dare you to say anything we didn't do this. We can guarantee everything there. Bill, how about you, Bill? What do you think on this? How would you stand with this?
I'd like to make a comment regarding the voting. The voting right now is by computer. And when they do the computer voting, you have the main candidate and then the 2 or 3 alternatives. They split the balance of the vote equally between the 3 people. You can see it on the computer reports. I would make the plea that we go back to a paper ballot so that when we have to do a recount, we have something physically to recount rather than putting it into a computer and then all you're going to do is look at computer records that are already fixed.
Yeah.
The other issue on the master tape, on any of these tapes that are given by the court reporter or the court, once you get them, they have the characteristic of being able to be told that there are breaks in the tape. There are certain forensic techniques that you can listen to the tapes and actually see and hear when there's a break in the continuity of the tape. Wendy Green got a tape, got a videotape, and she can actually see him starting and stopping the videotape.
Yeah.
And that's the tape that she got.
Well, Wendy,
To be able to get these tapes.
and ladies and gentlemen, we want you to pray for Wendy because Wendy has, I think it's 3 children in the system, and they've taken them away. And because of this rigging of the system that Bill and Eugene and Goldie are talking about, that rigging of the system, it's bad enough that our systems are rigged. But it's even worse when here is a dear mother. She wasn't a perfect mother by any stretch of the imagination. Neither is any mom. But she made a few mistakes and she corrected them. But the rigging of the system has still not allowed her to get her children back. And so we're exposing the rigging of the system with this book, with what we're doing here on the Wiley Drake Show. We're naming names, and we're revealing that rigging that's going on, and then parents are being able to get their children back. And that's the goal, is to get children back and to get justice. We started this program 15 years ago, and we base it on Micah 6:8 and Matthew 23:23, and both of those scriptures say, number 1 is justice. Yes, it's great to be merciful, and it's great to follow after God, but the first step is justice. And what these guys are talking about in this book, and what Linda wrote about in the book, like I said, it's 386 pages, but it's a book that will help you break the rig that is in. And we know it's being rigged. We've always known that, but we couldn't prove it. And now Bill and Eugene and Goldie are bringing it out so we can have the book in hand, the evidence in hand, and prove that the court was rigged against us. How many times have we heard that we know that people had the court rigged against them? And some people say, well, they're just claiming that because they're really guilty and they are trying to prove they're not. Well, if that's the case, that's fine. But in many cases, the court, has been rigged by the system. And we've got to fix that system. And this book is a step in the right direction. And we've got to hold them accountable. That's why we encourage you to go with us to San Francisco on October the 20th. They're at 95 7th Street in San Francisco, so we can fill the courtroom and let those rigging judges and the rigging people in the court system know we're not going to put up with this any longer. We're bringing evidence in, and we're going to unrig. The rig is up, ladies and gentlemen, if we continue to do this. So we would encourage you to do so. Go ahead.
Let me you about Wendy Green. Now think about this. She got a tape from her case. Before this, everybody was told there were no tapes in child court. Think about that now. Everybody was going up there and they say there are no tapes, you can't have them, you can't get them. Everything is taped. It's a modern generation now. Where did she get it? Even though they doctored up, she at least got a tape, so that means who told her there was no tapes before live. Now when the master tape is showing, then it might show that there's a lot of things wrong in her case. As a matter of fact, if you look at the Rule 11, if she's got a doctored tape, she's won her case already, Pastor.
Yeah.
Because first of all, somebody had a doctorate. If you doctor it, it's fraud. That means the evidence, the record has been changed. So Wendy's a real winner, and she should have her kids back.
Absolutely.
What's the for?
Yeah, absolutely.
With your lawyer that you were talking to, get his son, make a movement on the Supreme Court, and everything will turn around. Because the Supreme Court, whether they're with them or not, either they lie to the American people, they make the American people get the case to the U.S. attorney, or you got to go to the street. You can't go to the little court. There's no hope for you there. It's either the Supreme Court, the United States attorney doing their job, getting the tapes, and they handle them, or else you march in the streets and get what you can get. See, the point is, think about this, Pastor. If her tape has been rigged, and she gets it from the court, that means the court has done something wrong. Wendy Green is a winner.
Yep. Amen.
How can she lose? She's been sick.
Amen.
Tell us about it.
Well,
Mr. Drake,
yes, go ahead.
just like Gideon had to tear down the Baal temple, we have to tear down the Baal fort.
Yep. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we now know, first of all, that the courts are rigged. And we also know that the judges are rigged. So many of the judges are appointed, not elected, and even if they're elected, they are in forever. They rigged that as well. And we know the rigging is going on, and we've got to undo the rigging that the devil has put in there. That's why it's important that we pray together. That's why we get the materials together. And that's what we must do, because it is being rigged, and at the cost of destroying people's lives, especially children and families.
Well, that's if I can say another thing about that. If we don't help the children, who's going to help them? But here's the good thing. If you do run and somebody says, well, you can't win, you can't win, that's not the point, Pastor. You could be out there to make the candidates talk about the rigged court, talk about this kind of cheating, talk about this case. Let them bring really subjects that matter in this country. Why are young men going overseas dying if they can't get a fair trial here?
Yeah.
Think about that.
Absolutely.
You're there and you come out with this and make this a popular subject in your thing, you're doing justice for the country. Your running will be on sacred ground, on grounds of truth and justice, right?
Right. We must, ladies and gentlemen, I'm writing down a word here. I'm saying we must unrig the courts. The courts are rigged. Let me just give you a small example of the rigging that they do. Let's say a man is on the street, and we deal with this all the time. He's homeless, he's poor, he's broke. He's coming here to our church to get a place to sleep and food to eat, and he's on the street. Well, he goes out on the street, and he crosses over, first of all, the lights are only timed for 5 seconds, the walk sign. Now, I defy even a young man to make it across that intersection in 5 seconds. But the red light comes on. Now the policeman says, aha, I got you. He takes a picture of him walking on a red light, and he takes him to court. Now that was rigged, folks. The police are working the corners, and that's a rigged situation. And if the person doesn't know that, then they go to court and they go to jail because they are convicted. But many times we've been able to show with a camera that it is being rigged. And then the other thing that happens, quite often the prosecutors will rig the case by saying, well, now, you only had a simple misdemeanor, but we're going to add to it a felony charge, a felony endangerment in traffic or something. And so they say, okay, if you'll plead guilty now to the lesser one, we'll let you go on the more severe one. But that's rigging the court. That's rigging it so the people are found guilty and they admit. They should never admit that they're guilty if they're not guilty. And so this rigging of the courts, this rigging of the legal system must be stopped. And that's what the Wiley Drake Show is all about. It's about the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help us God. Go ahead.
Pastor, this is Bill. There's a manual, it's called the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. It's a federal document that describes all the processes that regarding traffic signals, crosswalks, ADA requirements, and it's called the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, and it is available on the internet. So there's supposed to be, the state of California requires at least 3 seconds at the prevailing speed of red all the way around the corner. So when you come up to a traffic light, you have green, and it goes to yellow, and it goes to red. It's supposed to be red all the way around, all 4 intersections, all 4 traffic ways for 3 seconds before the next cross direction goes green. And that's to prevent, or at least condition, the fact that somebody may run a red light, but there's not a tremendous amount of accidents.
Yeah.
So all that information is controlled or contained within this book called the Manual of Uniform Control Devices, and it's available on the internet.
All right. Thank you for that, and we appreciate that. But like I said, quite often, I'm sorry?
Bill, we'll give the phone number to you for his book in case they downed it again. Bill?
There's a phone number for brownoakpress.com. When we've had problems with the internet coming up and down, and there's a phone number, it's called 1-866-909-2665. I say again, 866-909-2665. And the individual that will be able to help you with those books is called Jason.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, we know, and now we're beginning to prove, with documents like this book, the death of the justice system and the Manual for Uniform Traffic Control Devices. We're proving that the system is rigged. I walked down to the corner here where one of our fellows, who is a elderly gentleman and has some very, he can walk, but he can't walk very fast. And I went down to the corner, and the sign, the light comes on for walk, and I started across the street. Well, before I got across the street at a normal pace, about halfway through, the light said, don't walk. Well, I couldn't stop. I had to keep going. And the officer could have given me a ticket if he wanted to, because I was walking when it said, don't walk. Now, it wasn't that I waited late to start. That light does not give you enough time to get across to the other side without turning red, and that needs to be fixed. And we brought it to the attention of the Buena Park Police Department, and they checked it out and said, you're right, there's no way you can get across there in that amount of time without it going to red, and they changed it, they fixed it. Well, it was rigged so they could write tickets, and the people that were getting the tickets didn't know how to fight it. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we must unrig the justice system. We must unrig it with these transcripts, with these audio tapes, and the things that are in the vault. We must unrig the court, and we must help people get what the Bible calls true justice. Now, we only have about 2 minutes. If you have anything else you'd like to share, go ahead. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. right here at thewileyDrakeShow.com. And we would encourage you to call in and ask questions. If Bill and Goldie and Eugene can't be here, you give me the question, I'll get an answer for you. And when they come on, they'll answer it as well. But we need to unrig the system. The system is rigged against us, and we must, I repeat, we must change it. And I'm here to say we're going to do everything we can. Go to crownoakpress.com. crownoakpress.com. And if you have any problem with that, call this number, 866-909-2665. Ladies and gentlemen, this program is rigged now because time's up, and we're going to go off. God bless you and have a great evening. And goodbye.
God bless you, Pastor.
All right, that's the phone line hung up, and we'll take care of that. And in just a moment, we'll be going off the air TV-wise as well. God bless you. Come back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. right here. Same station, same time. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. It will be rigged to start, and we have a full hour for prayer, and we'll meet with God and meet with you. So join us tomorrow morning.